last meeting. Did you folks have a chance to look at those?
Yep.
Especially important, I think.
They all right, because I did them, low tech.
Well, I
Well,
filled
we
in,
had to fill in
Barb
some.
and I filled in some of the blanks, but yeah, they were good. Especially, Barb and I put in the assignments that we had all chosen in the last meeting, right?
Yep.
So they're there on record in the minutes, and then Barb actually watched the old meeting to make sure we get them. So if anybody has an
That's how you do the minutes.
issue with those, please let us know, and
I
we'll,
mean, I feel like I said I would do more things than what showed up there, but.
well, it's all right, we can,
I follow the pattern of.
I got a
another
pen
one
right
was
here, I
given.
can put it right in there. Oh, I'm sorry, you got the meeting going there, Renee? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Samantha is coming.
Okay, you know, one of the things on there is there are people with similar interests, so, I mean, we just team up, right? I mean,
I mean, I said I wanted to go around with you about the ash trees, but.
yeah,
I mean,
and,
that's just sort of an informal thing.
No, but that's important.
but that's important, yeah.
But you know, one other thing I had been thinking about, it might be more than I can take on right now because I'm taking on a couple of extra things, is if anyone's interested, is I was thinking it'd be kind of nice for us, because it wouldn't be too hard, is to maybe do a little presentation. We talked about doing like a presentation at the library or somewhere, and maybe do it on rain gardens, because that,
Right,
just like kind of like examples of rain gardens, it's the basics of it. Because one, that meets Dave's goals of helping people with runoff from their yard. And other people generally are interested because people are always complaining about their yards flooding. And I mean, there's some really beautiful examples of it in a lot of, I mean, I have a folder that I've been saving photos of it. But if anyone's interested in maybe taking it on, I'll do it with you. If anyone wants to lead it up, and we can maybe, you know, this summer or something, have a little,
yeah, I actually have a rain garden.
you know, right? See, we can take pictures of him. We can even make a field trip or something. I don't know.
Just,
It just seems like it wouldn't be
I've
hard to
actually never
do.
heard of a rain garden.
Really? It's-
Sam, you're taking the minutes, right? Sam, okay, you got it. And Samantha just joined us.
Yeah.
You're on the
Yeah,
phone?
sorry about that. It's a hectic half-day school day.
That's all right,
Sorry.
welcome.
Well, it was just an idea, if anyone wants to think about it, and I would join you with it.
All right, so that could be
That's like a,
good.
Yeah, different one.
All right, so, and then, since Allison and David are not here yet, we're not.
anybody
gonna-
want to go get them? They were talking lawyer.
I don't know where they
I
are.
don't, they're in the lawyer's office. I walked by
Doesn't
them.
sound good.
No, it didn't sound serious. It didn't sound like it was that.
I'm only kidding. Well, why don't we just keep moving? If they show up, then they can,
Okay,
Yeah, so I'd like to look for the rain gardens.
okay. All right, great. Maybe Cynthia and I will do that.
so rain gardens. I think that's a really good topic.
Yeah, and actually, happen to know Samantha Mortlock is interested in that for at some point in her time.
Well, Samantha sent us some pictures, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw some really cool displays in when I was in Washington DC, and we have attempted to put a rain garden in our at our property, but it's wasn't, I don't think it's sized correctly, so it's just flooding right now and nothing's grown yet. So because we just did it at the end of last summer.
Oh, it's early.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, well, maybe the three of us could just sit down and compare notes sometime.
Yeah, I would love to talk about it.
Okay.
yeah, I think it's cool. So you want to we'll put that into,
Samantha, Cynthia, and I will work on a rain garden
okay.
presentation or something. I don't know. We can do it by Zoom, or we can do it in person, or I don't know.
Okay. So do you want to go around and we'll talk about any progress we've made on our goals? Touch base on that, and I can start.
Go ahead.
Because I can set the bar real low, so everybody else can look really good, because I haven't done much of anything, other than I've got a meeting with Louisa next week, which I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to make, over at Knox, Lincoln County Soil and Water Conservation District. I honestly haven't been out walking around looking, doing a survey yet. So I
It
haven't.
really hasn't been very good conditions for
No.
that,
Well,
between the
that's
cold
a
and the
good
ice.
excuse, but
honestly.
I've
That's a lot
also
of
walked
ice.
a lot, but I just haven't. They've mostly been power walks, where you want to get out of the house and back in quick because it was cold.
Yeah.
So you're walking fast with no, this kind of stuff, you need a clipboard or your phone out, and you can't
Right.
do
You
that
can't
when
do
it's
it in like
12
12
and
degrees,
windy.
right?
No, but so mea culpa, okay? That's
I'll go next if you want.
absolutely.
So I have been putting in hours, working on this, studying shoreline zoning codes and looking at other towns who have had strengthened theirs and coming up with ideas of what would be suggestions to strengthen ours. But I haven't had time to sit down with Jeremy or anybody to just go over them.
Right.
But I'm getting to that point. I'm close to that point. So before the next meeting, I should have something. And Jeremy plans to be at the next meeting. So it's just that
Is he going to be here to talk
Basically.
about that?
I'm not exactly sure, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
But
That's great.
I'll be joining probably by Zoom because we'll likely be on the road by then. But I should have some suggestions. I should have my data organized by then. But it's kind of boring.
Well,
To
you know
spend
what?
time
That's one of
reading all
the
these things. It's just like, ugh.
that's one of the things that I said that I would do is help with that because I'm interested in.
Edie?
What?
I had volunteered to
Oh, really?
help with that. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, cool. I didn't know.
Um,
But
so if you
Anyway,
have
it's-
anything, let me
I'll
know.
do that.
Yeah.
And Sam said the same thing. So I'll just run things by you guys too. But right now it's kind of just
It's a big, it's a lot of work
Yeah.
doing that.
I mean, the first part is understanding really what the current ones mean.
Right.
And then, takes a little, and then coming up with like, okay, how can that be improved for the benefit of the environment? Hi, Beatty. Hi. So
The status quo.
the status quo versus.
Yep.
New improved. So we're coming along.
Well, that's good. And then you're going away. You're going to be on the
I'll
road.
be, theoretically, the plan is to be on the road by the end of this month for about 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So, but I should be able to join by Zoom.
Good. And then if for some reason you can't, you can always debrief one of us
Yeah, I should be able to.
if it, on the phone or
Yeah.
whatever. That sounds great. Okay.
So the only thing that is registered that I'm supposedly doing is something that's frozen right now. All the streams, the GIS and the streams, right? So I haven't done anything on that.
Have you met with Rebecca at all?
No.
Okay.
What is Rebecca coordinating it or?
She said she would do the 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I put
that's
her
a good
below
idea.
you, Cynthia,
Okay.
on the minutes from the last meeting because she was really interested in that.
Okay. That's great. We should talk together about it.
I wish Dave
Come
was
up with
here because
strategy.
he's supposed to get the app.
Anybody want to go get it? He's in the lawyer's office. So is Allison. Want to go just see if they're joining? Maybe they just lost track of time.
Yeah, it's
They're
up
just
to
down the
you.
hallway.
What's that?
They're just down the hallway. Well, it's a bit more for me to walk, but
Well, I'll go
do you mind just want to just check with them?
just up here. I don't even know where the lawyer's office is.
Go to the end of here, take a left,
All right.
go through the doors and it's on the right.
The other thing that I'm really interested in is the ash borer strategy and whether or not there's a fungal approach to deterring them, eliminating them.
Have you
It's
heard anything like that?
so it's been
She's Brian, no.
it's not real promising, but because the only tree protection service that I found that has implemented this it's called the Bovaria bassiana fungus that causes white muscardine disease in a lot of little insects, emerald ash borer being one of them. But the Martin's Tree Service that's actually done this, used it. is in Canada, and I have reached out to them, but I haven't heard back. So it's just kind of, and they've used the same organism on potato beetles in Aroostook County. So I'm going to try to talk to a person at UMLO that's dealt with that. But anyway, I just feel like it would be a part of a comprehensive strategy that might cut down on how much sort of toxic, like chemical sort of approach that we have to take. But anyway, that's an ongoing research project.
They're on their way.
Otherwise, I
you.
haven't done anything relevant.
Oh, that's,
So that stream app needs to be streamlined by Dave, right? And or his people.
Well,
well,
he was going to fiddle with it somehow.
I still can't get into it. He told me to log
Yeah,
out.
I
And I haven't
mean,
been able to get back in
It's
yet.
like,
It's not hard to use. It's not hard to do. It's just hard to get into.
I think once, I have the same issue with the ash tree situation because we want to populate the tree app with, or at least create an icon for where the ash trees are, right? The
Can I
notable-
suggest we save this conversation until Allison's here because she was just talking about this to me. And I
About-
think she has some ideas about how it's critical to get someone on board for our committee so that we can work
Yeah.
on these things. Because here, we're willing to do it.
Yeah, we
we
really
just
need
need-
to, we've had the same issue for
I-
months,
Yeah,
right?
over a year, I think.
Yep. I'm not trying to overstate it, but I mean, because
No,
once you get it on your phone and the app and you can just go,
it's easy. It's
it
really easy. It's-
becomes almost fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
And I already talked to a few people about their trees, but I can't get them in the computer because I can't get them in the app because I can't get them to the app.
yeah, okay.
Another
And
thing,
just, guys, this is Samantha here, just to chime in on the app. I've reached out again about setting, I had volunteered to help with a meeting to talk about what could be resolved in the app to make it work better, but I didn't hear back. And I don't really have the capacity to like beg to help, so.
So when Dave arrives today, let's bring it up. How's that sound?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Let's see if we can get some closure on it at least, right?
Yeah.
Some, good.
Okay, we'll come back to that one.
and then there's the thing about the wanting, like the street trees program.
Yeah.
But that's not now. It's like you got to wait till spring to
Not
ask
really.
people, right? Or can
No,
you?
not
Well, we
really.
can survey, actually, I talked to Rebecca. I was gonna go out with her late last week and the weather was just so cold and crappy. So now we can identify potential locations. Doesn't matter what time of year it is.
Even with the snow covering, you
Yep.
know, okay.
Yep, you just go out.
Did you guys see the Rockland newspaper?
Yes,
They did a news release. I thought that was so great, and they included like the specific streets they would most like to hear from people on, and then had an online form. I thought that was a good way to publicize it and collect
Did you hear that they're
information
getting
about interested.
Did you hear they're getting the trees for free from Plants
that's
Unlimited?
what I heard. I was gonna.
I saw that, yeah.
I don't know how that all.
From where?
I don't know if that's a real thing. Or
From
not.
where?
Plants Unlimited.
Bucks,
Oh,
Plants Unlimited.
well, good.
And then,
Somebody.
We
said
get a
that.
deal, but-
it's cool, but we have in the past gone out and selected a couple of streets and we'll go up and with the app on the phone, we can identify potential locations for trees, the power lines, if there's a sidewalk, what kind of
Okay.
tree would it be, potentially.
The app even shows street trees that are technically there, even though, and then you can say, oh, wait, there's supposed to
You
be
haven't seen
a
that.
red
app,
maple
have you?
here.
Oh,
and
so
now there's
that
none.
one does exist, that app. And
Yeah,
I could get it.
that's the app
So
we're talking about.
you and I should still probably link up at some point.
We were supposed to meet.
Yeah, I know, and life happened, right? But and I could actually sit with you and show you this stuff on my phone.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah, next week I'm kind of tied up, but after that I'm in good shape.
Well, how about the rest of this week?
I don't know. I got this hand thing going, and I'm kind of like,
How about Friday?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to play that by ear. Can we play it by ear?
Yeah, but I'll wait for you to reach out to me then?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure how mobile I'll be.
You walk on your hands?
No, it's like I can't get this thing wet. It's like pretty
Oh,
sore.
I see. You know what? I mean, I'd come over your house and you're showing me apps.
All right, we usually meet at Zoot.
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 Most
Zoot.
people call it Zoot, including them.
Because I'm
Oh,
the
he's
only
rhyming
one.
with soot.
Did everybody know what I meant? That's the
I thought-
most important.
I
one.
thought it was like a joke or something.
Zoot.
Zoot,
I
Like,
know.
like
Zoot.
soot.
How do you?
Zoot like boot.
got
I
it.
say zoot.
Zoot, like suit.
What do you say?
I say zoot, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they
Yeah.
say Zoot.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard for me to do much on my phone like this, so I,
Oh, okay.
you know,
all
it's like a pain in the neck or in the hand. So I'll let you know, Cynthia, all right?
Okay.
I'll let you know like by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Oh, good. Kathleen, do you want to?
Well, I wanted to talk about the tree.
Yeah.
I don't know, Samantha, if this is, it's definitely related to like.
Can't hear her, I'm sorry.
I moved so I can see you guys.
Thank you. It's just that I'm taking notes. I want to make sure I.
Okay,
Hear people?
can you, so I just wanted to report on one of the things that I was working on, even though I'm not on the committee, is the potential of having more public programming around the Arbor Day celebration. And I know we're kind of close to the date this year, but I thought we could start this year and then maybe work next year on actually having a tree festival or a tree fair that's of the week of Arbor Day, to
That's
kind of
fun.
to do a kind of PR, just a lot of public programming around trees.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I like that.
But we'd have a whole year to really work on it. So just to get the ball rolling, and Sam actually is also interested in helping out potentially on this. I went to the librarian, Christy Kilfoy, who
She's
is
the director.
She's the director,
Yeah.
right? Who is really interested in this, loved it. And she wants to get the library involved this year. And when I was talking to her about potential ideas, her son came in, and I think he's about 9 years old. He said, "This is a really good idea. We could have I mentioned potentially reading poems for an afternoon. He said we could have a poet tree, meaning he came up with this idea,
Ah.
Really?
a tree,
Poetry, that's cool.
which was,
Yeah.
it was just a cool idea. And you could also see his enthusiasm. So I think that's building on all the work you've done, Beatty, with working with school kids when you had the shade tree initiative going on at Rennie's. And so it's like, I think we should have like an educational aspect to it.
The climate
You have a
group would
microphone?
probably
Oh,
be
that's-
really interesting in bringing in the climate function of trees, which is really important.
Neat. And is that at the high school or the
I don't, they're just beginning to engage in the high school. It's really hard to tell what class, what group of people is
Uh-huh.
gonna jump in, because usually has to do with how much else they're doing.
Huh.
But I don't know about this year. I mean, we could do climate with a table or something,
uh-huh, huh.
but,
So this year I thought maybe the idea of poetry, poems about trees, either asking high school students to pick their favorite poem and read it during like have a presentation during Arbor Day.
Yeah,
I'm
It could also be
totally
younger
open
students,
for
too.
ideas,
yeah.
but get some kind of program at the library so that they are kind of interested on a yearly basis of doing something around Arbor Day and also that week.
Are they up for putting some work into doing it? The
Yeah,
library?
Christy mentioned talking to the program person,
Yeah.
and they were going to develop maybe some other programs about trees. And then next year we could have visual art exhibit in the, in the gallery area. There's a lot of things I think we could build into it, but just make that connection for this year.
Amphitheater,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, we could actually have a poetry reading in the amphitheater based on where we plant the tree, I guess. Because you had mentioned that it might go close to
Across
the
the-
library?
Across from the library. There's
Okay,
like a little bump out
right.
where you have to, so some people can just, yeah, I know where it is, but.
So basically what I did was I just made that connection and that they were very interested in it
For this year.
for this year.
Are you talking the library?
Yes.
Okay.
So they want to do some kind of public programming about trees
Yeah.
in the week or at the day, on Arbor Day.
So we're going to have the Arbor Day event there.
That's what I wanted to check in with you guys because I didn't want to go ahead and make some kind of plan unless that's what you wanted to do with the
Didn't
tree.
Didn't we have an action last week for somebody to contact the library and talk about that?
That was her.
So
That's
that's
me.
what you did?
Yes, I did. And
Okay.
they definitely, they love the idea.
Okay. Sorry, I'm late. I'm sorry, I'm
Nope.
asking the question.
All right.
again.
Uh,
But so I think if we could do it with the library, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody else feels.
I think that's a great idea.
But what would we do about the tree planting ceremony? Would that be part of it?
Would
or-
we be part of, make it
Yeah.
part of the whole
The tree
thing?
over there, right?
Yeah,
They've got some pretty stringent.
yeah, but I'm gonna,
Sometimes they have a planting plan. And so the year that we did it over there, last time there was a need to replace a birch tree that had fallen. And that was my first year actually. And Nancy Cuttle Johnson had Audra and I blessed that tree. That's our tree. I should go check on it, but maybe they
Well-
have, didn't,
that's what she just said. So
They want-
there's the bump out, or I think Barb just said
Yeah,
it. There's the
Bump
bump
across from the
out
library.
that Smith,
is that where they want to plant?
they
Oh,
wanted,
sorry, I
remember
didn't
they
know
wanted
that.
to plant that tree there? Remember Tyler?
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean.
So,
yeah, sorry,
so
you've
I
got it
need
all
to
figured
check the
out.
utilities under that concrete sidewalk, see if there's anything there.
Right.
And I could saw cut that out and we can put a tree right there. That would be ideal.
I loved it. I think that's a
That's
great
a
idea.
great idea.
Yeah.
It's a street
That's what
tree.
the library wants to do.
And I really think we should just put another ginkgo there, just like the one we have.
Well, the only problem with the ginkgos is that they're not native and so produce.
Yeah, but they do well in that sidewalk environment.
That's true.
They're ancient. Samantha, what do you think? Mortlock?
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds
You're kind
fine.
of a
I was just
Arbor
trying
Day
to pull up, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, good. I was trying to pull up the information I'd gotten from Jan Santerre at the state about their Arbor Week because we don't want to have it in conflict with their
Oh,
their event. And they said it'll because if we're talking about something involving students, obviously it's not going to be at noon like we usually do. I would not suggest Friday afternoon, because I just, that doesn't seem like a great time to get people to show up, and
Can we-
I'm 100% not available Friday the 23rd in the afternoon to help.
can we do it on a
Um,
weekend day? I mean, wouldn't that make more sense to do it on a weekend day?
We certainly could. I won't be around, but that doesn't have to be a critical factor. We're away at basketball tournaments every weekend. But so just, Jan had said she thinks that week, which is Arbor Week for Maine, she thinks that the event at the Arboretum will be Wednesday or Thursday of that week in the afternoon. And so obviously we don't want to put it on either of those days if it was an after school type time,
Be a Tuesday.
or at least we need to, Tuesday.
All right. So we have this, sounds like we're locking in on a plan, right? At the library.
So maybe what the thing to do would be, Kathleen, if you were speaking with the library, see what, or Sam, see what of those dates they could make work,
Mhm.
right? And maybe if we have one or two options, that'd be nice to know. So the weekend before or after that week, Tuesday afternoon after school, and see maybe what they think is best, and then we can try to lock it in based on that information.
Okay. That sounds good.
Just to clarify, when we're saying Tuesday, are you saying Tuesday, April 22nd?
No, the one in
No,
May.
this is all in May.
May,
So the week
20th.
of May, whatever, the week of May 21st, I think it is Maine
It's-
Arbor Week.
it would-
As you recall, Arbor Day is in April.
Right, I
Okay,
was
yeah,
gonna
but Maine's Arbor thing is that week. Begins with Monday, the 19th.
So it'll be Tuesday, the 20th?
Yes.
Yeah, Tuesday, the 20th of May.
Okay.
Of
That's
May.
what- That's what I
Yep.
got.
For the purposes of this conversation, because there are two separate Arbor experiences, there's like Arbor Week for like nationally, and then there's the Maine, which I understand why it's different in Maine, but maybe we can just make sure we're saying like the month, just being really specific about that, because
Got
I'm
it.
gonna get
I
it.
think we could just blanket say, it's not going to be in April. It will be in May. So all the dates we're saying are May because there's no way we'll have it pulled together by April and the weather's bad
Okay.
anyway.
I like May.
So
So we're
just,
saying anytime, like Tuesday, whatever that date is in May.
20th. The
20th.
20th.
but Kathleen's going to check with the library first, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
or the weekend before or the weekend after.
Okay.
Okay,
Right,
so
cool.
just to summarize, the 23rd's off the table now, right? We're not going to do.
I mean, I don't know that it should be.
Well,
We could just do the Arbor Day we always do if the library's not able to, whatever, like we could also just do that and then plan for something different next year. So,
Why
Yeah,
don't we just start with this?
Start with the
Yeah.
20th. Okay.
so,
All right.
Start with the 20th. Okay.
so next
Changes,
step
let us
is
know.
Kathleen's going to check with the library and see if the 20th could work.
Right.
So, and whatever we do will be after the planting. Is that a good, like what if we had, I'd love to hear people's ideas about if we read 3 poems or 2 poems.
Yeah.
Like who would do that? Should they read it by where the tree is planted? Should they go to the library? Just if you had some thoughts about it, or who's going to read the poems? What
Are
poems?
we really leaning heavily toward having kids involved though? I mean, that was what I heard.
I'm not sure we have time to do that, but I will definitely give it a shot. So we could have something, I think if we had kids involved, we'd get a bigger attendance if
Yeah.
it was on the weekend.
Yeah.
And you had
it's-
kids reading poems.
It's just way more meaningful to have kids
So
involved.
it's only March, right?
Right, yeah.
So why
we
don't
could
we,
do
why
it.
don't we get the date, why don't we get the date?
Okay,
And then we'll figure out the agenda after.
okay.
Because we got plenty of time to figure that out.
Right, I just want to, when
Yeah.
I talk to the library, I want to
You
make
could throw
sure.
those things out there and maybe they have some ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because we're not going to solve it without their input at
If
this
it's,
Okay.
point.
if it's a weekday, we could maybe move it to like 3:30 or something.
Right, after school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If kids can be involved, they can come after school. And I know the school
Yeah,
sports,
but you
but you
still have
can't
the
please
issue
everybody.
where parents need to be there
Right,
with kids, and if you have working parents, it's just not gonna work, probably.
Anything's better than the 10 people we had last year,
Yeah.
including all
So
of us.
Kathleen and I have been emailing about this, and we just got to the point where we were like, okay, let's meet to start discuss like ideas for programming. So do we want to say, if you're interested in being a part of that conversation, why don't you email me and let
I
me
think
know?
that's a good idea. Yeah.
That way
Yep.
we can sort of
Great.
like a little ad hoc.
and if you can think, and if you know of some specific poems too, like the
Yeah,
that Mary Oliver poem. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it'd be fun to actually maybe think about also having some adults that you wouldn't think would read a poem, like the fire chief reading a Mary Oliver poem,
that.
or just kind of like have it like a Stars Hollow Gilmore Girls kind of thing.
Sounds great.
So
Just
I think
mix it up.
for my piece of it, I just need to know what date we settle on.
Okay.
So I can add that to our Arbor Day, sorry, not our Arbor Day. I have to add that information to our Tree City USA application that's due like next week. So
Okay.
we can obviously put a date in and then just change
Okay.
it, but
And I could email you just a little 2 sentences about what it is and when the date is. Would that be helpful for the application?
I just need a date.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sam, does it have to happen within a certain date range for us to maintain that certification?
We just have to file our application, I think, by March 8th. We just have to celebrate Arbor Day. Like that's the requirement, celebrate Arbor Day.
Oh, okay, perfect, okay.
Okay,
So Sam, I'm gonna get you the information I promised you Friday. I had to double
Oh,
check.
thank you.
I had to double check on a few things actually today, and that's what I
okay.
did.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do have to submit it this week though, so that would be great.
Okay, I'll get
Okay.
that stuff.
Thank you.
So, that's great.
Hey,
So can we go back to the stream thing now that we have Dave here?
Yes.
The app to identify the GIS app for the streams, right? We got several people interested in.
So what we've done is I talked with Audra about it. Allison was there when we talked about it, kind of talked about the complexity of doing that with CAI, and we budgeted for it. So it isn't something we're probably going to start doing, I wouldn't think maybe until July 1st of the new budget year, but
But you did put in the budget
yes,
for
there's
somebody.
money in the budget that we're putting money in the budget to do some more CAI work, and that'll create that layer to do that work.
So until
You were
we,
there during the conversation.
No, I wasn't.
There you are.
I have a different interpretation. I feel like, I probably shouldn't say what I think. The issue is that we actually do have money in the budget right now. The issue is that we haven't identified a person that can oversee all of it. And so it's coming down to whatever Dave and I can fit in to do trainings here and there. But and I have the most sort of enthusiasm for it or whatever. I don't have full control over the system. We tried a new experiment this year where we have a different person in the town that's in charge of all the GIS. But that person is not involved in the things that the Conservation Commission would be doing. And so it's kind of like a bunch of parts of a body that are disconnected a little bit. So I do think that somebody needs to be the guardian of all of this, so that somebody, it all needs to be written down. This is what this app does. This is how you log in. These are the people that can have access to it. And then when there's a problem, it either needs to be that the Conservation Commission or whoever communicates directly with CAI, which is a very competent company, or a town staff person that has the control to make the changes that are needed. But right now we have a lot of I'll ask somebody to do such and such a thing. And anyway, I think that it's there. It sounds like there's assurance that there is enough money for next year. So that'll be great. I do think that we should start this year of just, it's helpful to see what's possible and what's done in other places too, and having somebody from CAI come and just say, this is how they're doing this here, and this is how they're doing this here, and this is this Conservation Commission. It's sometimes easier to say, we want to just duplicate this or that. But we have to work out who's going to be.
So
I
could
feel like
so do we have to wait until the budget's approved, or can we start working somehow?
we can
What do you think?
absolutely keep working, because the problem isn't specifically lack of money. The problem is somebody spending the time to be aware of all of it. Because sometimes, say you're in the app and if you can even log in. I mean, I can log in and stuff right now, but I can't see. For a little while, the imagery was missing. So we could only see the 2019 imagery. And it's really helpful to be able to see the imagery to know where there's a tree and where there isn't. And so then you want to be able to say, well, why is this imagery layer missing from the app? Can somebody add it? And it's that kind of stuff to optimize. When we went out and we did the training, we finally had the time to do the training. And then I was like, oh, this is how you add a field observation. So we whittled it down, okay, what's the simplest thing we could do? This is how you add a field observation. And then that feature wasn't working. It was only allowing for a barcode scan rather than a picture. Now that's possible to get fixed. But if contact person for the town, for the company that's overseeing the budget doesn't have a full understanding of, well, why does the Conservation Commission need to take pictures? Then it's if I feel like it's the knowledge of everything that we're trying to do is too siloed with like one person who's a volunteer that doesn't have authority. And so I'm hoping that we could also either allocate like a large amount of money so that CAI can be like fully, the outside company can be fully in charge of it and kind of like communicating directly with the Conservation Commission, or we can have somebody designated within Dave's department potentially that would, the person who oversees all the GIS
Is
stuff.
there-
Because you think it's simple, it's going to seem like, oh, the only thing we need to do is fix that somebody can't log in. But other stuff comes up where it's
That's a
like,
separate issue. The stream app that we're talking about, that's one thing that we're trying to do. What you're talking about is a different part of the problem. It isn't a problem it isn't the stream thing that's a problem. You're saying, and I get what you're saying, and I think that needs to be addressed. But
streams are a feature within stormwater. Within the stormwater app, that's
I
surface water.
I understand, but there's two things going on here. One is we need to make sure that CAI develops another layer to do this work we're talking about. What you're talking about is you want to have somebody
It's
in
actually possible
charge
within the
to
same
be able to
layer.
help with all of the apps and all of the problems. And that's a different issue. And I'm not saying it can't be resolved.
But we can't even log into the apps that we have already created right now. You might not realize that they're interconnected, but the stormwater app that we're having trouble with a little bit right now is part of the stream. So streams are identified
I
within
get
that.
it.
So you can't fix one part without fixing.
But it doesn't
another
have
part.
anything to do with the Conservation Commission though, really.
Well, they're wondering, the issue is why aren't we moving forward with this more quickly? Why have we been talking about it more than we've been actually?
Well, the two things that are high on our list are the tree placement IDs and stuff like that, the
Mhm.
ash tree
Yep.
situation,
Mhm.
and the stream IDs. That's 3 of the 4 biggest things we're doing.
Right.
And they
But
all kind
Allison's
of involve
bringing
the
up
app.
a whole nother other thing.
It's actually all the same.
But don't they all involve the similar app?
Absolutely.
So how
And
do we?
and the ash tree stuff needs to be integrated into the tree
That's
app.
correct.
That's a data
I was gonna-
migration.
that was My next question. So what's the solution? How do we move forward? Or is there ways we can decouple some of this stuff so we don't have to wait and in real time we can start doing stuff? Like I can go out with a clipboard and figure out where the ash trees are if they're still on Luis's inventory, right? And what this status and are there ways we can get printouts of where the streams are and we can go out on our own and look and just verify?
I know, but
Yep, that's a stream, that's not a stream.
But if the app was useful right now, it
But
would
if we
kill 2
can't
birds
get it-
rather than having to do it, write it down.
All of the streams mostly are identified, but it's just a more complex GIS issue that they're segmented. So that's in segments so when you click on it, it doesn't highlight an entire thing from the beginning to end to identify the stream. It identifies like 17 different little like tiny segments because of the way that the data was entered 10 years ago. It's a data cleanup issue that in order for the Conservation Commission to go out and validate, yep, checked off, this is a stream, blah, blah, we first have to fix that a little bit. And then, but if, I mean, it's like me saying, I'm just going to go out and fix the roads. You know what I mean? It's more complex than.
I think maybe what we should do is let me take care of this part, okay? And I'll talk with Audra about having Justin be the person to go to for people that have problems with GIS. And then I'll talk with CAI about what it's gonna take to do this. and
It
stuff
would
like
be
that.
great.
And then
So
And create a
Justin would be,
tutorial.
I'll take care of that.
Justin would be the go-to person for.
Do you have time to do that like this month?
I'll
Because we've been talking about this and one's trying to
And
sketch
Dave, if
one
you
of the
want one of us to meet with you and Justin.
And we almost got
The
there.
way this was all gonna work was we were gonna budget it, we were gonna do it in the
Yep.
next budget year, and that's how it was gonna happen, but this is something different.
No, it's not, because we got to the point where Samantha and I were gonna meet with Justin, and I see it as mostly my failure of saying, I organized a meeting, and we just didn't follow through, and because Samantha was gonna be gone for the 3 weeks that we finally did have a meeting, there's no substitute for somebody being in charge of the whole thing that understands
Right, and I agree, because this kind of been on hold for almost a year. We've been talking about making these changes and stuff and getting new people on board, and it just keeps,
And I've written
Getting
emails
delayed.
about the
There's more
problem.
going on. They
I
hired
know,
a-
I mean,
They
and that's
hired a
what-
person to do it, and the person doesn't really understand how to do it, is really a big part of it.
Who's they?
The town. The
Okay, I
town
was
put
gonna
someone in
say, yeah.
charge, and
That's what I said.
that didn't work, so now we gotta do something a little different.
Okay,
That's-
All
so
right, thank
you
you.
got the ball,
Yeah, I'll
Thank
take
you.
care of
right?
that part.
So, and then
thank you,
we'll-
Dave.
Or we can
Good.
just advocate for enough money in the budget so that CAI can, that's what I was just trying to say, because
That's
they.
why I said I'll talk with Audra about that piece. I gotta talk about with the person who's competent that could do this first to see if it's something we can do. There's some things there's some questions I have to ask and the people I have to talk to.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
What's his
Just
name again?
functional. I mean,
Justin,
Justin, okay.
just enough to get us out and running, right?
Right, exactly.
We just need some tools to go out and start to inventory things.
But I don't want to make it too complicated so that we just can't get anywhere. That's the whole.
The key thing,
Yep.
the key thing are the trees and the tree layers, so we can incorporate the ash trees and then streams, the two major ones.
Yeah, with the ash trees, I can still go out with the clipboard and I have all the trees identified on Luis's report. Okay, so I know where they are. I can just go and
I mean, the easy thing to do would be to say, all right, you guys just do it on paper and then we'll give
Yeah.
it to one person.
I'm good with that.
But listen, where I was going to go with all this is that is inefficient. And now I'm taking a person who needs to be actually doing actual other
Yep.
things, entering data off of paper, and it's not
we- but-
efficient.
But what you're forgetting is that we already had like 2 meetings about this where I was there and I could probably find like some kind of record of it where we met with CAI and they were going to be, I found all of Luisa's data. It's in Google Maps. I
Yeah,
sent
I
it to
found that too.
CAI.
I
So
looked at it.
CAI has gotten that. They said it would be totally possible to integrate. And I think then somebody left CAI. So I don't know where exactly that stands right now, but it's already been explained and it's actually very easy for them to take that data. Then what we need is for the Conservation Commission just to be able to validate the data and then update. And what I'm saying is that the people who do this for a living are like, oh, that's just a simple script of blah, 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 blah. And they're really good. And when we rely on that, this isn't a new thing. Most towns are doing way more with GIS
Yeah,
than we are. We're actually way behind. So mostly they're like, oh, and did you want citizens to be able to input data too? You can have this. Like they come up with solutions that we're not going to be able to mandate. So
all right.
Okay.
so you feel like it's important to be advocating for budget.
either unless
Resources.
if somebody can absorb that into their existing job over in Dave's department, that's great. But we
Yeah.
want to make sure there's
But-
there's enough budget.
But it sounds like you think it would actually be better to have professionals at CAI doing it.
Well, I just happen to personally know from conversations with this person that Dave hired that he really is good. And he
Justin?
speaks about it like, he's like, you have to look at GIS as like an asset that the town has. And it's an asset that needs to be maintained just like any other infrastructure. But it's not my place to say, I think this person should be in charge. But he's already doing lots of stuff with the sewer. He's just really, really good. And so I'm worried that sometimes the work that Dave has done here and that I've done here and the different groups, it's going to get like lost a little bit if it's not, fully integrated as somebody's job. So
All right.
like Justin would be in a good position to be able to know how much extra needs to be budgeted. So we can have a tutorial, like other towns have something where they have this app and then they have a story map that actually explains to people how you go about inputting the data so that when somebody new comes on, they don't have to,
Do you object to having a paper system at all that could be done while all this is being fixed?
Yeah, that's where I am too.
Do you
I
object?
don't
Do
really
you think
care. I
there's
just
something
know from the
wrong with
history of
that?
the,
Who's going to put it all in the computerized system after?
I have had so many people give me binders of things like, I just want you to have this information. I'm like, wow, this is really good. It's too bad it's not like,
See,
Put it in a
Nancy
spreadsheet.
did this sort of
Doesn't have
thing
to
by
be written
paper.
down.
what
I
is
know,
the
but
goal?
but
What is the goal to do
but her
with
stuff
it?
is pretty useless because it's all on paper.
Yeah, there's nothing electronic. We can put it in a spreadsheet. That's
Whose
easy.
stuff is it's not electronic.
Nancy's,
Nancy.
Nancy, the tree
Correct.
tree
So,
keeper.
so when
Johnson.
somebody new
Johnson.
comes and is working for the town, you want them to be able to pull up when they're like, oh, this property is proposing to do this. You want them to pull it up, click on that, and then activate the other layers that say, oh, look, this is the natural resource layer. This is the street tree layer. This is the,
Well,
but it depends what the goal is. Like what is your goal to do with is it with the ash trees?
To me, the
Ash
goal is
trees.
the efficiency of getting the people doing the work to put the information in the system.
but until we get that done, we're
Yeah.
kind of at a standstill, right?
Well, I mean,
What do you want to do? What's your highest, updating the ash tree inventory?
In the stream,
The stream pool.
go out and do the survey.
identify, like label if it's a stream or not, identify if
Go
it's a
out
stream or
and
not.
Do a recon
So
on,
we
Well,
all
that
decided
actually
last
requires
week.
a lot more trainings because it's not just about the app. That is going and learning first.
Yeah.
About all the,
Last week, you weren't here, but last month, we all talked about the priorities that each of us wanted to make sure we were working on, it could accomplish this year. And one of them, Brian's, is with the ash tree inventory and getting it on the app. Rebecca and Cynthia and a couple of people talked about working with the streams, getting them labeled and
And that had to
Identified.
do with
And
a
again-
site plan
then it,
review.
again,
or
has to
whatever,
do with the
you know what I'm
app.
talking about?
And I was about something else, but those two were kind of biggies, as well as supporting placing trees for people who want trees from the tree program. Because like I said, my app's not working and I can't get into it. And I know 3 people who want trees. So it's just like things like that. So kind of, that's most of the, majority of the
But so if the
commission
goal is the
needs
ash
this
tree, what do you
app
want
working.
what do you want to have done with
Put
the
the
ash
app,
tree?
put it into the tree GIS.
But then you're asking if I object to it being done, and I'm sorry, I'm probably sounding a little more frustrated than I really am. You're asking if I object to it being on paper.
no. we're not
All right.
objecting.
That was Beatty's question. I don't think there's any objection to it being on paper, but it depends on what you want to have, like what the long-term goal to do with the data is. So if the goal is to get us to do something with it, then having it on paper,
No,
isn't productive.
You do the work on paper with a spreadsheet
Yeah.
system, which.
and then
you
what?
Probably can really do nicely, and I understand the
Put it in
systems too.
Excel, put it in.
But you need to have the agency to be able to do the work, and without this system working, you're saying, well, nobody can do anything.
What's the,
Well, isn't there a system that we can work with on paper that then somebody reads it into the computer?
I mean, Louisa did what is the goal to identify all the ash trees on a
Goal is to
spreadsheet?
get trees planted.
Oh, to get.
Oh, no, it's 2 things.
So,
It's 2 things. One of them is that. The other one is to take
Well, that I
Louise's
think
ash
we
tree
gotta
inventory,
kinda figure it
put them
out,
in
right?
the app, find out which ones are
That
still there,
works.
see if any of them been knocked
I
down,
can
cut down or
work
whatever.
with the
And see which,
GIS here.
identify which ones can be retreated.
Okay, so the goal of getting trees planted could easily be accomplished by, if somebody's having trouble logging into the app, by all means, write it down on a piece of
I
paper.
don't have any trouble with it, so I don't.
But nobody knows it. Nobody
Sounds like
knows,
we have
nobody
different-
knows the password.
I know, but there are different questions going on here.
You asked, okay.
Because then you
listen,
said you agree with
we got,
Beatty
we
about the
got like
paper.
40 minutes to go and I got a bunch of other things.
Totally, yeah. I'm gonna work on
So-
getting people logged into the app right now. That'll be my.
So, but the tree, I'm cool, I'm good with it. I can run with what I got. So you don't even have to worry about it.
I mean, Brian, you could do it on Excel and then if you want to put it in
Put it on
GIS.
Excel and then I'll
Yeah.
put it into the
Yeah,
database.
that's
once
the
it becomes
solution.
live. I just
Yeah.
need to get out on the road.
Yeah.
And go around and look and say,
Yeah.
oh, there it is. It's on
Yeah.
Luis's, it's still alive. It looks good.
Right.
It hasn't been sawn down. Do an inventory.
And sometimes they can actually take the Excel document and upload it.
I mean, we're
into
only talking
GIS.
about 60 trees.
All you have to do is get Louisa to give you access to her.
I already
data.
have access.
Well, then just edit it.
That's what he wants to do, but they also want to add it to the app, but
That's why I said I'm okay.
Oh, well, great. Edit Louisa's document, then when we put that in, it'll be right.
Next.
Perfect.
That's a next. Got it.
Check.
Check. Okay. So, and then you're
And then
going to
I'm-
work with Justin.
I'm gonna figure out who's gonna be responsible for, I see it as being helpful with the GIS, keeping track of it, but the Emerald Ash Borer info and the stream segments
Right.
part of the GIS.
The biggest problem I've had with this GIS app is bandwidth when you're out in the field.
Yeah, it does, it can be,
So slow.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of bloat in it. So that's the big problem I've had. Unless you get like 3 bars, you're like, it's going. boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. So,
Which is a problem that would be solved by
yes.
somebody making it the type of database that can be downloaded, which only a professional knows.
So you guys have any other updates on what Steve, anything? You're gonna work on the stream stuff as well, right?
I'll work on
Anyhow.
that or the streams, the trees.
How
I
about,
don't do computers. And maybe I shouldn't even be on here because it seems like in this world, nothing can get done without computers and smartphones.
It's hard.
It's just not my thing.
It's hard.
I'd glad to go out and do the surveys, with somebody if they want to put it in right away. And, like I was willing to do the sewer line water intrusion thing. Nobody called me. I was willing to go out and plant trees. Nobody called me.
We didn't plant a tree
I'd
yet.
like to go out and do the streams and the trees, but I can't put it in a computer. And if I'm not
We
useful, if you
communicate, we
find someone
communicate
else
by
who
email.
can do that, and you can't even get me by email. So if you want someone else other than me to be more useful and you've got somebody, I'll step down because I'm a
Oh, you're
doer
not-
guy, not a computer guy.
We do need to identify some hands-on projects.
I think maybe what might be helpful is getting someone from the DEP in here so you understand what a stream is.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
Like, let's-
absolutely.
Let's start with that
We know we
Perfect.
need
Like
to be
there's some-
educated.
before we go into the app, okay? Because the app is not even, I mean,
That's a great idea.
that is where we need to start. And then we also probably should have someone come in maybe and talk about the emerald ash borer stuff. So I think that would be 2 beneficial things for everybody to hear. And I don't know how I can talk to somebody from at the DEP about doing that, about the stream stuff.
Mhm.
Yep. So the idea with the emerald ash borer thing, Dave, just to
Yeah.
circle back, was to have an updated inventory on the trees that Louisa identified, because it was 2017. It was like, years ago.
Right.
So that we got the latest and greatest updated inventory. Then when we're ready to go into an emerald ash borer program, we get an idea what the existing situation is in town with the ash trees. Specifically, the major trees, the keystone trees, the big trees, the ones that we definitely want to save, right?
Right.
So that-
Brian, excuse me, do we even have a update on how close the emerald ash borer?
Well, that's what I was thinking the education thing would do.
Yeah.
Because,
Because when I looked it up, it looked like it's getting very close.
well, that's what I was going to say. Maybe like having someone come in to talk about this a little bit, they could talk about things to look for while you're doing the inventory.
Mhm.
They could talk about what we're going to need to prepare for as part of this. Because, we're looking at it one dimensionally, I think, right now, and it's just saying we're going to do which I think has to be done.
Yeah.
But, it might make sense to be able to do some of the other parts of it
And
while that's happening.
that doesn't have to be, this is just my.
It's not going to stop you from
That
doing your
doesn't have to
thing.
be done as part of this meeting. That
No,
could be a little workshop,
Yeah,
like offline sometime, right?
right. I think it's worth understanding a little bit more about the repercussions of this, even for me. And
Oh, definitely.
and like the heritage tree type of thing. What do we do to maybe prevent the emerald ash borer from destroying the tree? There may be some things that we need to hear that could be helpful because we don't have those answers. We're just talking about getting numbers of existing trees
Mhm.
and that's it.
That's it, exactly.
But there's
That was
more
the
to
first
this,
step.
but there's more to this
Absolutely.
that probably we ought to probably get somebody in here to help us with that
Well,
piece of it.
Could we schedule a Zoom? Can you inquire about
Well, that's what I
scheduling
was
a
gonna
Zoom?
say. Yeah.
Should we do it or do you want to do it?
No. I'm gonna get somebody that knows more about this whole emerald ash borer program.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Do you
Good.
want to assign that to somebody so that you don't have to do
Well-
it like Jan Santerre or?
It would be, maybe Sam, you think you could find someone that would be able to give us like a
I'm meeting with
strategic
Or
Louisa.
plan?
Rebecca would be a great person
Yeah,
to
I'm
assign
meeting
that
with
to.
Louisa next week.
Oh, yeah.
I can ask her.
Yeah.
They're really plugged into all of this.
And I'll try and work on the DEP stream person
All right, I'll check into the emerald ash borer person. all
because
right?
I honestly think that we're trying to do these other things without the information. And it might be helpful to have a little bit more of the information that will take up some time before we get to this other piece.
Okay, so Brian's going to be looking into getting DEP assistance
No, I am. Dave.
The Emerald Ash.
for the
Borer
ash
person?
borer thing.
I thought you said the DEP thing.
Well, isn't the,
Streams and ash borer is what, something else? Is that
isn't
something else?
ash borer at
Agriculture?
DEP too?
I think it's agriculture, conservation, and
No.
No,
forestry. or-
Oh.
Forestry.
Forestry.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
And I don't want to complicate things, but I think that's a good place to start.
Okay, we got this squared away?
Very quickly. if any-
I have an individual update, Samantha. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know, I did attend the school district sustainability committee meeting a few weeks ago. And I showed them a photo, David, of the oak tree slice and offered that up as a potential loaner. And there were a couple teachers at the high school that were very excited about it. One of them even teaches, it was a language arts teacher, I think, who does there's a book, I guess it's all about tree rings, and I don't know about it, like a novel. And anyway, so there were people excited about it. They understood that it would be available as a loan. And they'll reach out either to me, or I mentioned that you would be the person that has it. So you may randomly hear from somebody, but who knows? I'll follow, I'll mention again at the next meeting they have, which will probably be in a couple months. But I wanted to let you know it was a well-received offer and appreciated.
Okay, if you give them my number or give me their number, I can drop one off to them.
Well, I don't know that they want it right now anyway, because
Okay.
it would be at whatever time they do that lesson, and maybe they've just finished that unit for this year anyway. But it sounded like there were a couple of teachers that at some point might like to avail themselves of that resource.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's all.
Good.
Nice.
The thing is right there.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What'd you think?
Very cool.
It's awesome.
You want a picture of it to send to the school board?
I think
I shared it at the I
you
shared
already
it
got
at the
I think Dave
sustainability
did give her a
meeting.
picture.
That's not the one I'm gonna send them, though. I'm gonna give them another one.
This is from.
Oh, it's a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like almost 200 and something pounds.
Looks like it ought to be in Yellowstone National Park or
Is that
something.
crazy?
Yeah, that's really neat.
It seems like that should be a big table.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
anything else?
so I'm not having any trouble logging in under the field worker license or any of the licenses. So if somebody,
I didn't either.
if you want to give me your phone, Barb, I can get you logged in.
I'm logged in too. I tried it with my one hand while we were sitting.
I'm going to try to track down the ash tree stuff, and I'm going to not talk for the rest of the time. I'm just going to look for ash tree stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Beatty, what did you think?
I'm going to do the work and not talk about it.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, Dave.
Um,
You did good thinking.
I have, Allison, we need an update from you, but I have one thing. One thing-
Sorry, I was trying to, are you still collecting individual updates or?
Yes, absolutely.
No, you can't give one.
Everyone except you.
You're too busy writing down all this stuff.
I know, I'm trying to. It's been an interest, my notes are gonna be interesting, so. But I wanted to I don't have anything big, I've been working with Kathleen on coordinating the library stuff and moving forward with that. And then I'm taking an approach with the website, which is like very piecemeal. So you might see like very small, like one thing at a time updates going on there. Like we added a link. We added a small thing on the submenu on the side over the past month, just to help navigation.
Yeah.
And then I did a little bit of research into the water testing. I don't know where that's going to go, if anywhere. I looked at the link that you sent, Barb, and I don't want to just do busy work that isn't actually important.
Right.
So I feel like I need to, if I'm going to do that, I want to center on a reason why or on a goal for that work. So if you all have input, feel free to be in touch, but that's where I am with.
Refresh my memory. I can't even remember what the issue was about water testing. Like, what are we
She was
talking about?
interested in water, like clean, healthy
Like
beaches.
healthy beaches and you're saying that, what is it? What's the purpose of updating our understanding of our water quality, right? Or what? What does everybody think the idea meant? Anybody have any ideas?
I don't
Like
understand.
what were we talking about? What was the purpose of
Well, that
finding
was
out?
what Sam was talking
In-
Well, she's
it
saying
was
she
inter-
needs a clarification of what our reason or goal might have been before she can spend a lot of time on it.
I can, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to further narrow down, if, it just felt like the idea was a little general. And part of the reason I was on that thread was because I was reading some of the water quality report on the website, which I found very interesting, reading about the water quality in the harbor. But I don't know, I feel, yeah, I don't know. If anyone's like, oh, well, we could do this, then I'd be interested in having a conversation, but otherwise I'm gonna
I
continue.
have an input, just my own personal sort of feelings. I think
Sure.
if you worked on PR buzz stuff to get the buzz out there about the Conservation Commission, educational programs, what we're doing, things at the library, things where we could get kids involved, I think it'd be awesome, right? And
Mhm.
like, I've got a bunch of stuff going on myself, independent of the Conservation Commission with educational programs, and I can talk to you about what I'm doing, which is not Conservation Commission specific, but stuff like what you guys are doing at the library with the Arbor Day, and that stuff is really awesome. Some of these
Yeah.
other projects are so big, like the water quality stuff. I'm not sure, like, I'm not sure they're even doable in a reasonable amount of time, if you know what I'm saying, right?
Especially with our
Does
resources.
that make sense? Sam?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean,
I'd love to talk to you about some of the other stuff. I've got tons of ideas. I mean, offline, right? Or if anybody wants to join us, like some of the stuff we could do.
Are you talking about what to put on the website? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about, well, yes, it could go on the website, but I'm talking, Sam talked about outreach stuff the last time we met, right?
yeah,
Like sort of
yeah.
being the, part of it's a website, like educational information on the website navigation, things that make it easier for the community to
Communication.
use the website as a tool to help them look, like we could put Emerald Ash Borer stuff on the website. In fact, I think some of the
There is.
stuff is on the website, et
Yeah.
cetera, right?
Yeah.
So,
Can I make a suggestion? I think maybe a better use of time, which would be just as, I think would still be effective, is one, checking out, let's say, if Maine Healthy Beaches is still happening and up to date. And if it is, do a link to our website. And
Right.
if whatever other body, whoever else does like testing for a harbor and local waters, whoever that is, and where they keep the data, just checking and see if we can link the data to our website so people can go there and check. I'm not sure who does it.
and I'm not
Yeah.
sure it's even up-to-date information.
Yeah, but only if it's up to date. If it's old stuff, that's kind of useless, but.
I have that. Yeah, I have that link, so I can.
Is that totally confusing, Sam?
I feel clear about how I'm going to move forward.
Okay, good.
So,
If you want to brainstorm, I'd love to brainstorm with it,
Yeah.
FYI.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
so like the water quality stuff, I mean, you can take that to like, you can really make that really complex and you can make it really easy. There's water quality and there's water chemistry. And I guess it's what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to look for? Are you trying to look for, progression of water degradation? Or are you just trying to look for something in the water? you know, because those are the kind of things that you're trying to, so like, let's say hypothetically, you just wanted to monitor the health of like E. coli presence in the water over time. You'd take a sample, bring it to the lab, even over here, we'd test it. We'd make a coliform count of how much fecal coliform units per liter of water, and we'd mark it down on a sheet, and we'd keep track of it over time, okay? And then you would see, you can make correlations between rainfall events, and you can make correlations between, you know, time. It looks like it's progressively getting worse. You can do different things like that if that's what you're trying to do. Or you can do like just water chemistry, which is just the pH, you know, the total dissolved solids, the BOD. You can do those things too, and you can keep track of those over time. But really, a lot of this is like something you got to look at over time and to see if it's progressing and getting worse or if it's getting better. So, you know,
I can respond to that.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, I mean, I guess I could, you know, maybe I can help you with, like, if I don't understand what you're trying, what you want, what you're thinking is important.
Yeah.
We might be able to help you with that, you know?
Yeah, I think that the idea was, for me, born from the fact that, like, as just like a person in the community, I wasn't really aware that like about the pollution in the harbor, and that
Okay.
maybe I didn't want my kid to swim there.
Okay.
And so, and like, so, and I don't have as deep a knowledge as you all do, like about a lot, but
Not
I
necessarily.
think that can be a useful perspective, because probably my understanding and my grasp of a lot of the conservation principles reflects what's out there in the community, like the level of understanding in the community and the questions that people might have. So I guess I was sort of trying to approach it from that perspective. So
Like, what's safe for children to be exposed to per se? Yeah. So it's
And that's
not
what Maine
yeah.
Healthy Beaches is about.
I was going to say,
mean,
so that's like, that is actually the Maine Healthy Beaches program. That's exactly what they do.
yeah, I explored their website a little bit after our meeting last month.
Yeah.
I can go deeper in that, but I was also focused on some of the other pieces that
It's the I&I, the issue that we have is related to rain. So there's the sewer part, that's part of the reason we're working on the sewer infiltration issue and the overflows. But then also the town posts the beaches when we should be doing it automatically every time we get half an inch of rain within 24 hours. That's what some places do. But we're right now, I think we check on Tuesdays, and if it's bad, then we post. But it's really,
So
the water quality is quite good as long as it doesn't
Who's
rain.
doing that right now?
That's a Parks and Rec thing.
Yeah,
So
they're doing that.
it's
though?
Holly does it.
And there's a
But-
specific sign for that.
Yeah, but the Conservation Commission might recommend that instead of going about it in this once a week testing, which oftentimes does not match up with a rain event, what Rockport does is they developed a system where they just, if they know that if we get half an inch of rain within 24 hours, the bacteria levels are going to spike. And so they just automatically post. So, I mean, that would be a good thing, because it's not this big mysterious thing. We're not doing major testing like nitrogen and phosphorus and all that stuff. All they're testing for is bacteria.
Yep.
And they know that it's bad when it rains. Occasionally there's some non-rain event issue
Mhm.
as well, but that's really not the predominant thing. That would be like the geese or dogs occasionally. But
I think though, like if that's something that you're interested in, I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think I am on this one, but I think like if we know, like, let's say we want to test the beach once a week, because we're not doing it right now. We're only doing it when it rains, right?
no,
Or we're
it's the
doing
opposite.
once a month.
So this is like a really established program. No, we're doing it at once a week.
We're
But
doing it once a week now,
Yes, but only for bacteria.
right?
But
But
it's kind of silly because we know that if it rains, the bacteria is really high. They test once a week, but with, I believe it's Tuesdays. And then if it comes back bad, then on Wednesday, they post it as bad. But
Right.
if it rains on Thursday, nobody tells everybody that it's going to be bad because there is no test
Oh.
saying it's bad.
Oh,
That's
geez.
why Rockport doesn't even bother I'm sure they do some testing too. This would be like Bill Bowe, for instance,
Yeah.
explains this really, really well. But it's,
When you, sorry,
no, go ahead.
when you say post, what is that, like how?
They
how-
put a sign up. They actually put a physical sign up that says, closed to swimming.
Mhm.
Or they're supposed to. That's how they used to do it.
But I've had many people
Or
comment
online.
to me, like, if this is actually a good issue, but lots of people write me and they say, could this sign be bigger? Could this, I don't think people really know.
How
It's-
about we have Bill Bowe come in and talk about it? 'Cause he-
Sure, or, I mean, it's actually pretty simple to go over to, yeah, sure, yeah.
Bill's
That would be
really good at-
Bill's on the Conservation Commission in
Yeah.
Rockport and does all of their water testing. They own a lot of their own equipment in Rockport.
Oh,
And actually, yeah.
He
Bill
could
is
talk about the whole thing and then we could maybe develop,
A good thing to do.
yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see how he
what's
does.
his name?
Bill Bowe.
Bowe.
He's a good guy.
He's really smart and
Yeah.
really, and actually goes out and does all the testing himself, which might be a great thing for
Right.
Steve.
Right, so that might help you with that, that whole idea of how to do it because he's really proactive with
Yeah,
all
Bill's
this.
really good. He actually just wrote this whole report. He got Lily Pond delisted from the list of state, and this was other people too, not just Bill, but they collected data to show that Lily Pond was no longer contaminated. And it hasn't been contaminated for years, but nobody had collected it all. And then he wrote up this great report and
So
now it's
that's an easy one. We'll
Oh, yeah.
have him at the next meeting.
What's his last name?
Bo,
W.
B-O-W.
I think we had Jeremy coming next.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Oh.
But he won't be here the whole meeting.
Do,
I don't know, they
do
go
you
by
want me
quick.
to- Do you want me to reach out to him?
I think it'd be good to have him here and talk to everybody.
Do you want to do that or should? Or do you
No,
want-
I'll do that. I talk with him all the time. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. And my other, sorry, this is the last thing and then I'll shut up.
No.
But you touched on a question that I actually have, which is, and we don't have to get into this now, but sometimes I come up against things where I'm like, I don't know if this is us or if this should be Parks and Rec. And so I'm just putting that out there that sometimes I'm not sure where our work ends and theirs begins and vice versa. So if this is more of a Parks and Rec thing, like I don't want to like wade us into a thing that's not for us, but.
There is no Parks and Rec committee anymore. There's a Parks and Rec department. So the Conservation Commission doesn't need to be shy at all about, providing input or bringing up an issue that is, that falls within the responsibility of the Parks and Rec
Yep.
department. Dave happens to be Public Works, but definitely, and maybe sometime to have like Jeff Nathan, the new Parks and Rec director, just come and talk to the Conservation Commission might be a good
Okay.
thing.
But what was the part that you were not wanting to drag us into?
Do you want to tell us what?
I think that was, I don't know, someone's in regards to the water.
Oh, it's the water quality stuff?
But there are some times where I'm like, I'm not sure.
Text me.
No, in general though,
Okay.
I'll like, nope, not ours.
no, but you're not, your job is Public Works, and the committee, you come to the committee meetings, but that doesn't mean that the
You can't-
committee isn't a Public Works committee. The
You mean
committee-
they might have interest in Parks and
Like,
Rec
they might
stuff?
want to send some emails over the Parks and Rec and say, you should be doing this and this and this, even if it's not.
Oh, yeah,
Just because it's not your
sure.
job doesn't mean the committee doesn't,
You do it.
you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to make everything that the Conservation Commission thinks is important your job.
Yeah, but you guys
That
are
would be-
great and I want you to be with me. That's what it is, that's,
I can't blame you.
He's not
I'd
gonna
feel the
release
same
you
way if I
guys.
were you.
I'm not going to let you go easily.
That's it?
All right, thank you for
Yeah.
your, okay. I'm done speaking now.
For,
But there was somebody-
oh. I'm confused. Oh, so we pretty much, I have one other thing I want to talk about before we got
updates.
13 minutes. And Allison hasn't given us an update on the the select board, as a select board liaison. But so Janice has asked us to put together a page or two for the town report,
Kind of soft,
right,
half hour.
for this fiscal year 2024, right? And what some of the accomplishments we've made. And Rebecca actually sent, I'm willing to put it together. I'm okay with that. But I need you guys to think about it and send some sound bites.
Finally got the signs up.
Well, send some sound bites. Email me some sound bites.
All right.
And I'll put together, that includes everybody, right? If you don't have anything, that's fine, but if you do, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Start thinking about it. It's quite a few things.
That's what I like to hear.
And sometimes just.
Rebecca sent me some, I talked to her live Monday. She sent me what we did from last year. So I'll put the work into putting it together. I have no problems with that. Especially things like, Dave, how many trees we planted, numbers,
36.
metrics, that kind of stuff is really good to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys cool with that? Everybody, anybody, Steve, if you want to chime in.
Steve's like, we
Well,
I know you don't want to get into the
no,
electronic stuff,
I
but I
just
mean,
feel so useless here because I'm not online.
We need to be employed.
well,
And it's just, that's why I feel maybe I shouldn't even be here, because my background is conservation, but it doesn't seem to fit in. And then this world is all computerized now. I understand the benefits of that, but I was never part of that. But how do we ever do anything before computers? The world went by.
Didn't
Now it
happen.
seems
that's
to
'cause-
me that the
that's-
world,
that's because
humans
nobody
are going
had
to get passed by with
computers.
AI, and what the heck are we all going to do? I mean, is it a bad thing to go out and do things the old fashioned?
Well, I think what happens, this is just, I was in both, I had my foot in both places for a while. And what I find is a lot of the stuff that was done ends up in binders, that ends up in boxes that nobody ever uses. That's what ends up
I
happening.
understand that.
And the one thing about the computerized versions of it, other people can pick it up and like work on it even after the
I
fact,
understand all
because it
that. I have
exists.
no problem.
But
He's
it doesn't-
asking like what he can do.
But it
what he-
doesn't mean you're not valuable. So like for example, like when Bill comes in, I could see you being the person that grabs a sample once a day, once a week, or
I can
there's,
do stuff like that.
but I think these presentations we're going to come up with are going to lead it to more of that kind of stuff that needs to happen. I mean, as in terms of being able to contact you, that's a little different, because like Barb said, everybody, it's easy to send an email to everybody. You send one email and it goes to everybody.
But
Maybe you should get on, maybe get an email address. I mean, that would be not a
I've
bad
been
thing.
trying lately, and it's not working.
I can get you a used computer and we can
Friends
set
have
you
been
up.
trying to get me email, and it's not me.
Okay,
Well, a lot of the time, there are definitely,
yeah.
a lot of what the Conservation Commission needs to do is just be generally aware of different things that are happening in town and then provide input to the select board at decision-making
That's
time. And
super
so
important,
one of the
that
things,
piece.
as painful as it can
Yeah.
be, is going, being generally, we're coming to these meetings and then going to a select board meeting and sitting and listening and then providing some input when it's the right time. And so even you just being here saying, I've looked at all of these things and I support sending this letter on behalf of the Conservation Commission. The fact that you're out in the community and noticing things and then signing on to position statements, that is so much more powerful than you actually realize. It feels sometimes like, oh, I didn't do this physically, but when you can influence town decision-making by just paying attention, that makes a big difference. And unfortunately, sometimes there are a lot of people that are willing to do this kind of stuff where they're like emailing and on Facebook, but they won't go and sit at a select board meeting and be a voice that says, I just want to make sure you've, really taken into consideration the trees here, or what are the water quality impacts going to be? Or so you can make a huge difference by showing up when other people can't.
Well, I understand the situation. I understand what I am, and I understand that, yes, computers are wonderful things. I would use it so little that I wouldn't even comprehend how every time I went to send an email, which might be once a week or every 2 weeks, I'd forget how to do it.
Well, that's okay. Be the person that will use your voice.
You don't need to
No,
worry
it-
about that
it's
though.
just-
You don't,
It's not me.
Yeah, but
And-
no one's asking. I mean, I know I just asked, but you don't really.
I go into other organizations, I have the same problem.
Yeah, but you don't need to look at it that way. I mean, you need to look at it the way she's just explaining it. Is that
Show up
your-
and
your-
say something, speak up for the trees.
Your
and for-
advocacy is part of
Nobody
a
comes to
committee.
I want to do, but I want to be out there.
Most people want
So
to.
far,
Well, you have to sit
I've
in meeting.
spent 2
Beatty
hours
does
a
it all the
month.
time.
Oh, yeah,
That's
Beatty makes,
all I've done.
Beatty does it all the time. Barb does it all the time.
Cynthia
Cynthia
really
just
blocked
did
some
just
hours
did
the other
something
night.
at the dam. I mean, that is actually
For a year.
the biggest impact you can make
That's
for
the
a
stuff I
committee.
thought I would be doing and I want to be doing.
Well, there'll be plenty of
Just the
opportunities.
Show up at the
information
budget
part,
committee
that's somebody
meetings, for
else
God's
can
sake.
handle that.
Um,
But clipboards going around doing,
You
checking
don't
on
have to
things.
do that part. No one's expecting you to do that.
No, he
He
I
wants
want
to
to
do
do that.
clipboards.
I don't mind
do
collecting
that.
information.
Well, I know,
I'm
but
just not going to be able to.
We
put
don't
it in.
have as many opportunities like that that are ready to go without the ability to communicate electronically. That's the reality of it. You're right. We do have a real shortage of people that are willing to put in the hours at a meeting and, shake your head disapprovingly when the select board says, but Beatty may have insight.
I am going out the other end and having to drop all this. I worked with dyslexic people. I am dyslexic. I have a kind of memory problem and sequencing problem, which you may or may not have. Huge percentage of people in this country do. People in jail especially do. You guys think that this is all going to work. Well, it's not working because we're not into it yet. We're just not functioning properly with computers like we think we are. So don't even go on trying to make it work. Go on finding the person, the other people, the money, etc. But don't stop working just because this monster thing is not really going down. And there are a lot of people who don't want to and can't, but they can work on paper, work with images, all sorts of other work. And here's somebody who's young enough and knows how to do things, who should
I'm
should
73.
well,
That's
I'm
not very young.
85, and I think that these jobs should be being done and not waiting for a computer system to work.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping anybody from doing anything, but it's the ability to integrate into everything else that's going on. They're just, you can go out and say, I noticed all of these things that are concerning to me in town that are environmental conservation issues, and then show up at a meeting and say, I saw 14 cars leaking oil, or whatever, but you can notice,
So that
all
you
of it.
can write reports and say, I saw this.
or just
I
come
saw
and
that."
say it.
And then this group will say, well, we want to do something about it, and get hung up with the computers not working.
But I think you're implying that we're not doing that, the tree thing, because the app's not working.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's been incredibly
Well,
successful,
we
actually.
discussed that we can do it on paper, but then after it's done on paper, then it has to be put in the app. So it's just, some people don't want to do it twice. That's-
We've planted more trees than ever before. I've sat in this town
No, but
and watched a bunch of people in rooms argue about planting 6 trees a year while we're taking down 20. And now we finally got this app going where everybody can do the work. And then the public works department is like, oh, look, 4 approved trees. And it actually is working very, very well. Barb had trouble logging in, but we're making more progress than ever before in that specific
3
area.
years, I think we planted probably 150 trees.
yeah,
It's phenomenal. But I understand, Beatty, where you're coming from, and I think with the tree planting, the shade tree program, we kind of worked well together as a team. Some people had paper notes. I put stuff in the database from the notes, but it was just a collaboration, right?
Right.
And we work together as a team, and we don't all have to be proficient in everything, right? And but I sort of feel some similar frustration too, which I think we got to start somewhere. Like with my ash tree stuff, I'm just going to go out with a clipboard and start take a note,
I have
And-
8
and then
streets
I'll put
done.
it. But I'll put it in myself after I get to.
Well, if you had, what I was suggesting is Louisa give you editing access to her. But I just Barb, I just copied,
Yeah.
I am following up on an email I actually appear to have written in 2022 asking them to, or no, 20, and then 2024. They said they could do it. I gave them all of Luis's data,
Hey,
and
so
you were on it too.
I remember
And
that.
it's, and then they said, do you have all the information? We can put this in the town system. Do you have it all? And then I sent it, copied Dave,
But it didn't get done.
and it hasn't, I'm not sure if it's been done.
Right.
This is where I would like somebody else to just be like but I just sent another thing. This time I copied Barb and I also copied Samantha.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm following up on this. I'm in a conservation commission meeting right now. It's not a hard thing to do. It's that maybe, I don't know what happened. If Aaron said, I don't know if we have the budget for this, and somebody in another office
I
said,
think it was when that guy left, the guy that we were working with.
this was in January was the most recent time I followed up on this. So, and it was 2022 before that. So,
All right, we got a,
no, real quick, you guys should just think about whether you want to do this Sagamore Farm thing keeps coming up, and I'm not trying to like blow things up in terms of what you guys all are working on, but it would be appropriate with the solar panels. I know that the select board on our own isn't going to have the bandwidth to review it all, but if that's something important, that the idea of expanding the solar farm at Sagamore, I do think the Conservation Commission would be an appropriate place to sort of review that a little bit more in depth.
Who was asked?
I think Cynthia might have been the most recent, or Molly, Molly and
Pete?
and I don't,
I'd be willing to, but
Yeah, I don't know much about it.
because there are some issues with it that don't get brought up about the problems with the existing system and the ability to meter it and I know our previous select board member did a lot of work in straightening out how the billing was working, because some of it wasn't as beneficial as financially as it was supposed to be. But
I've got solar stuff and I gave a presentation on it at a Camden Can meeting. I'd be willing to get more involved, but I don't even know.
it might be worth it for me to put you in touch with Bob Falciani, actually, who did a bunch of the sorting out all of the billing complications. And that would be a good way to kind of know like what the argument might be against it, what the potential, and I know Tom Hedstrom
I
has
did
some
all,
concerns.
I mean, I'm not trying to tell you how smart I am. I'm just trying to.
Oh,
tell
I
you,
know, that's why,
like,
I'm bringing it
I've
up.
done countless ROI stuff and all kinds of.
So answering the question
So-
really completely of whether the
So
select
can you
board
just
should
put me in
be.
touch with this person? Or can I mean, I'm willing to get involved. I didn't know anything about it. Because I think I could,
Right, to sort out, like, I think
As
there's
a
two
mem-
questions.
as a
Should the
rep-
town be buying out the system that we have?
as a representative of the Conservation Commission, by the way.
Exactly, it is a conservation issue.
okay, what are the two questions?
I think the request that has come to us has been, there've been two things. One is the buyout, I believe, of the system that we have, which was put in by revision, and there's some kind of, should we do the buyout? You could also ask Pete Kalasian specifically what he is advocating for.
Is Pete,
And then, because it was, Esperanza was there too, and Parker, and they all clapped when Pete said what he said.
Okay,
So that's the question. And then I think the other thing is whether it should be expanded. And in the past, there was like talk about using that property for other things like housing or, competing. And I think some considerations may have changed since then with reasons why we might not put housing out there. So if
like,
it's,
so should it be expanded in terms of finances? of
should
the town,
the
or
solar array itself be expanded in size,
On the
built
ba-
out
on the
further?
basis of whether that would be financially beneficial for the town?
I think financially beneficial and of course, beneficial for all the reasons why, for the planet. But probably the argument for that is already pretty good.
Yeah.
But like what are the implications for the town?
who in the town is involved in this?
So previously, the Energy Committee advocated strongly for this, and we built out an acre or something, and it's just a set it forget it kind of thing right now. It's there.
Yeah.
There was resistance to expanding it because of the competing goal of affordable housing and some of the possibilities that were there, which
Competing goal of what?
affordable housing.
Oh, yeah.
And then, years before that, it was, but I think that there are things that have changed there, and it might be worth revisiting there. I don't think it's good, the initiative, we've talked about a little on the select board, and there wasn't like oh yeah, the select board's gonna take this on. There were sort of more questions than answers. So if somebody wants that to go further, it would be good for a committee to look at it, and this one would be an appropriate committee if you want to.
I want at this point say that the Camden Can wanted to have different people on the steering committee kind of in touch with some of the different groups. And I said, since I come here, I would try to be liaison for Camden Can, and hoping that also Camden Can could come at some point, be on the agenda and actually talk to Conservation Commission, not me, because I'm going down in terms of the computer.
No, that's
but
not.
what you just said, which I can only partially hear because I forgot my hearing aids.
Oh, I'm
'cause I was
sorry.
in computer hell this morning with my daughter, who's my Virgil, and we didn't get anywhere. So Camden Can is really concerned about getting
Right.
expanded and hung up. And you know a lot more about what's actually going on at the decision-making level. You already said a whole lot that I couldn't hear enough.
Nothing really is happening.
But we need to talk.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, it's not going to just organically sprout from within town government, because there are a lot of questions. I could help any group identify some of the barriers that have been brought up before, or some of the concerns.
You have talked a lot of impediments. I sense that the pro-fossil fuel community is actually making an attempt to push this around. I read stuff in the paper that was going on in other towns where the concern of, well, there's maintenance costs.
Yeah.
Well, some of that, but there are just legitimate, they're just people like me that can't be knowledgeable about everything. And so when somebody says, I've heard that that's not smart to do because there's no way to recycle them, I don't know, I'm not in a position. So we need a if I'm just letting you know that if that issue probably will not move forward without,
It needs to be aired. It needs.
That's what I'm doing.
Laid out all these concerns that are stopping it from happening.
Well, part of it would be the Conservation Commission doesn't think it's important. So
Big
when
advocate. I want to see it out there.
So
that's
how does
literally
that-
what I'm trying to do, is tell you guys how to maybe make it happen.
We're at 2:00. by the
But
way.
what-
So if you gotta go.
Says we go to 2:30 on our schedule.
We go to 2:30, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And
Oh, good, so we got 35 minutes left.
At the
25.
top of our schedules, it's 12:30, 2:30.
I'm
Brian's
taking-
had enough.
I'm taking stuff for this hand, and I'll admit I'm not myself today.
Can I have some?
excuse me,
Um,
can I suggest that we schedule a presentation by Camden Can at this meeting? Like a 20-minute
so
rundown of what they feel about the Sagamore Farm thing?
I have that as an action item in the notes. I think one thing I would just point out is that we've talked about a few different visitors coming to speak to us during this meeting time, which is awesome, but we might want to prioritize based on whatever list we have of people we've talked about.
It might be a good thing for one or two of the members here to become knowledgeable about, and then bring it back to the Conservation Commission.
Typically the solar stuff, right?
The Sagamore Farm thing, yeah.
And I want to be clear, I'm not saying this because the select board said we should ask the Conservation Commission to
Yeah.
do this. I'm just sort of personally saying
But
it might be something good. If you guys as a group were to review it first and think that it's something important to take on, that would be a helpful thing in helping the town move forward, if there's
the
the
other
interest.
alternative would be for a couple of us to go to a Camden Ken meeting and see.
Or
Right.
the people who are most.
I go to most of them.
Devoted to what's happening at Sagamore
There,
to speak here, whatever, but maybe it's.
Because we just don't have that much,
Who's interested in working on this.
because there's so many, Samantha was just saying there are a lot of speakers scheduled, so it might be.
Well, yeah, and then there's, I mean, so as far as Camden Can goes, though, we're talking specifically in terms of the Sagamore Farm
At
piece,
the moment.
as opposed to all
There's
the other
more
things they
general, There
do.
needs to be more
Cross-pollination.
mutual recognition between the two
Right.
groups. And Camden, what you were saying about Sam up there should be, well, we should know, we said this before, we need to know all these different groups, what they're doing, and sort of put them together. And Camden Can has just had a retreat, which of course that came up, you know.
Mhm.
All the other groups that are doing things, it takes something to put it together. You did put together a list, but that's another piece
Oh, yeah.
of the connections that we need.
Right,
So
which is
there's
why I brought it up.
farm, and then there's general knowing about each other,
Right.
what everybody's doing.
Well-
Everybody gets their newsletter though, pretty much.
I mean, we got their newsletter, and it's up to the Conservation Commission sometimes to say, there's this other issue that is important enough that it should rise to the level of having the Conservation Commission address it. And so that's partially you guys
Mhm.
saying, this should be a priority. And then that helps it become a town priority. But the fact that it doesn't come up at the Conservation Commission is also like an indicator of, you know, if we have no town committee telling us it's a priority, then, you know, we
And
have,
there's the select board.
Well,
which
that's what I mean.
You as a select board member, and I don't know, possibly Dave, I don't know who knows, but you said a whole bunch of things.
I said a whole bunch of things.
No, not you.
Oh, okay.
Allison. Not you. So.
That sounded
and-
bad.
And I
It did.
talked to
I thought so.
Susan Dorr, and she indicated that Hedstrom had some objections, and I hear what you heard about, you know, maybe this is an expense, things that have to do with solar panels, and we need to know about them and think about them, think how valid they are, think how worth it is to have solar panels up there, or forget solar panels. You know,
Can we have this on,
Just like one or two people who are interested,
yeah,
meet with one or two people from Camden Can.
Right, just- yeah.
can we have it on the agenda for next, what,
Agenda.
like, for the,
What's
We're
this?
getting a pretty big agenda for that.
Yeah.
like,
just have it as your report, like somebody, you could go and then somebody
What
could
I mean.
report back, like as a small, like
okay,
where everybody reports on their
right,
thing.
okay,
And, you know, you can kind of filter it to decide like, okay, yeah, this seems like something worth bringing back.
okay.
I think you need to put on paper what you said. No.
I feel like I'm just being like targeted a little, I'm not against the solar stuff.
No, I don't.
I'm giving you I am just sharing very kind of transparently with, this is a bunch of stuff I've heard brought up in the past. I've been on the select board now for 7 years, and it's come up like 4 times. I don't know if those same concerns are going to come up again, but I know that a town staff person isn't going to be the one that's like, let me tell you why this,
Yeah,
there's just too much going on. So some pre-vetting needs to happen before, you know, I'd be willing to advocate for it to be on a select board agenda, for instance.
I'm not saying you should advocate. I just want.
I'm
what
willing
you
to
said.
advocate. I just want you guys to think it's a good idea first.
Go from here.
I think Cynthia's
Maybe
gonna,
there's one or two people who are interested in or know about this, that they would like to talk to one or two people from Camden Can and just do it.
Mhm.
Someone give me a quick, is there a controversy there? Because this is the first time I ever heard Sagamore Farm mentioned.
why don't you go walk up to Sagamore Farm and look at the solar panels?
It's up behind the, it's up,
Big beach.
No, not be- no, no.
is it already there? I thought there was.
All the way to the end,
Big story.
walk in, go to
It's
the right,
very
Parker
challenging
Lake
to
Old
get
House?
there.
Okay. I
Very
knew it was
challenging to get there.
Been up there.
take a look at it.
It's okay to walk up there?
Yeah.
That's a utility easement, whether it's a pedestrian easement or not is up for
Right at the
debate,
gate.
but
Just walk in.
are you,
He was asking how to.
have you ever tried to walk from the Sagamore Farm Road to the,
It's a ways, yeah.
you've never done it, because you would know that it's almost
All
impossible.
wet, and boggy, and
It's almost like there's no clear path.
The Mount Batty Road.
it might be frozen.
No,
right
no,
now, though.
go up late construction and just say you're, I mean, that's the,
Well, isn't there a road just
You know what,
after
you
the
need
Mount
to- you
Batty
need to look
Motel
it
that
up.
Goes up there?
Yeah, there is.
but there's not a good way to get there. You're gonna have to look up the history of this. Ask the Camden Camp people about it. Ask Pete Galatian to show you.
I just, well,
If you go to those meetings, just
can't be
ask them.
that far.
When you
I've
go
walked
through-
from my house out to
I mean,
Sherman
some
Point.
people-
How do they get there to maintain the solar panels?
They have a easement through late construction.
All right, so that's the way to get there then, right?
I don't personally know if that's just a utility easement where they can do that or if it's a general pedestrian.
There's a
Easement.
thing that goes around the back that this comes out where you.
So where's the technical data on all of this? Who's got that?
What's the controversy?
Technical
But-
liaison.
I mean, you might have to just like Google it.
Who's got?
There is no technical
Who built
liaison.
it?
So,
Revision.
All right, so revision, I know those guys, so.
Oh, yeah.
so my husband is doing some calculations and ruminations about this, the technical part. You sounded like you might understand the billing and the
And net
finances.
metering and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I got all that stuff.
The
down. I
problem
got
before-
5 years worth of data on, my stuff and.
okay.
What we're going to need to know, are the panels performing as well as was said? How much life is realistically left? The basic pitch that's given, and then somebody to go back and see how we're doing before the problem was we had like 10 different accounts, and the credit was going to the electricity account for the town that didn't use enough in order to benefit from it. So it was like, it's just a bunch of,
It got banked somehow.
yeah, but why don't you find out the first level of details about it? And then once you've done that, then I can put you in touch with somebody that might be able to tell you what some of the problems were before. It might not be that there would be resistance from the town.
Yeah.
Now, it's just become knowledgeable about what's going on. I think Pete Collasion is quite knowledgeable.
That would be a pretty helpful thing for them to do that. What you're saying.
Isn't there a solar panel farm out at the high school also? Is there any problem with
No,
that?
that's on the roof.
Their roof.
Oh, that's a windmill.
A windmill.
They have
yeah.
a wind turbine, but they have a lot of solar on their roof there.
They have, yeah.
Okay, well, if you want to connect with me, Cynthia, I don't know.
Okay.
Let me know.
Mhm.
I'm like really comfortable with this stuff.
I know, that's what I mean.
This is great.
I wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't think it was a group that was going to be good at reviewing it.
But to
We
be-
do need some
I'm really
technical.
happy you brought it up because I was supposed to be liaisoning and I just thought, God, they're too overloaded. I don't even want to say.
I'd like to
anything.
go up and look at it, but I don't understand what the problem is. What are people, what's the
I-
controversy?
There isn't a controversy. It's just, it's like
Question.
think about your house and all the different projects that you have to get done. And when somebody says, well, why haven't you done this yet? Why haven't you replaced the gutters? Why haven't you? You're like, yeah, I know we should look at that, but it just hasn't happened yet. The town, we've got people coming to every meeting saying that we need to renovate Curtis Island. That's for $5 million or I think
Everybody
it's
has
less.
something they want.
There's the snowball, ADA access at the snowball. We have the fire and EMS situation. There's just a lot. We have this building that's going to fall in the river. There's, just,
39 Main Street.
there's
So,
just a lot.
so Steve, and the Camden Canned feeling about it is that here's something that is like totally obvious that the town should be doing. They should be capitalizing on this opportunity to expand solar and, move in that direction. And so they're trying to do some studying to make a case for that.
Do they want to enlarge it,
She's
or
saying it would be
they'll
helpful.
Be replaced.
They want to enlarge it, but the
supposed to be-
issue is that there's another movement that says that we should be careful about using too much farmland for solar panels.
Which,
And that we should be trying to put them on. So basically the crux of the argument came down to whether this is the highest and best use of that property. Just like you wouldn't take like a downtown property connected to sewer where there should be housing and put solar panels. The question is, does that logic apply to Sagamore Farm? And so there were people that wanted to really explore, because we had a few proposals from affordable housing possibilities, and those got stagnated a little bit. Sagamore Farm doesn't have sewer, but there's talk about maybe it would be worth extending it. Then a group did come to us and say they wanted to do this eco co-housing thing, which seemed really great, and they're actually willing to, and they share, it's the woman from the Energy Committee of Yarmouth or something like that. And some of the former Energy Committee members really advocated for this. They wanted to build like housing there, and they were going to do their own septic there. Whether or not that was really viable or not is uncertain. We had some competing proposals. None of them were able to, then other people had a lot of stormwater concerns. When you actually think about cutting more trees down at Sagamore, it's like there's so much water that comes off that mountain and then you wash out the stream to Sherman's Cove. I personally have come around to the fact where I don't believe that that is an appropriate place for more development because of all the water issues that we're having. So I do now feel like, and there's this whole section, like there's the bike trails, but then the section where the solar panels are is an elevated sort of gravel area that's grassed over, but it's kind of separate from the rest of it. So personally, my thinking about it has evolved a little bit. And I think I could make the argument now that absolutely not, we're not going to do housing here. We need to have like an apartment building next to Hannaford instead, or something like that for housing. So that was what it was before. Like, it wasn't people just saying, I hate solar. It was people thinking there might be something that's better.
Trying to be objective.
We should put solar somewhere else, and then they looked at all the different roofs in town. Can we put it here? Can we put it at the Public Works garage? We were going to do the Public Works garage, but then they figured out that that garage or the sand and salt shed was going to fall down. So that wasn't a good place. It's kind of like this round and round thing. And then we decided, then we have done some energy efficiency things, but it might be worth revisiting the Sagamore solar thing now. I'd be in a better position to advocate for it now than I was before.
Everything you're saying needs to be laid out. There's technical and maintenance and
Right.
pieces like that. And
Yeah,
then there's
right.
what you just said about land use and how water behaves. All of those are pieces of deciding to do whether more solar at Sagamore.
Peak
Right,
collision.
Right, and we need
seems-
we need a group of
There
people.
needs to be an article in the paper that lays that out,
Who benefits from the solar? I mean, is it just used for town buildings, or is it sold to the people in town, or?
Well, it can offset the town use. So since we do use a significant amount of electricity at both of the Snow Bowl, the wastewater treatment plant, I do think that we use enough that we could benefit from it. Of course, there are the benefits to just reducing fossil fuel. I mean, it's what the main climate action plan says we should be doing. We just want to make sure that it's not being done in a way that, conflicts with other goals, I think. And we need somebody to do not just give the rosy, like, this is all great, it's just so obvious, but a group to really say, like, yeah, we acknowledge that these are some of the concerns that come up. We looked into this.
Right.
And that would just be so helpful to be able to bring up, to say we have answers to all these things before you just have a select board being like, well, is this proven technology?
Get some data.
Yeah.
If roofs on town buildings and people's houses, if that's a real possibility. But
But it's a distraction. It ends up being like, well, what we should really be doing is this, but then we do nothing,
Until
That's the
insurance
point.
companies tell you they're gonna charge you more because you
Like-
got them on your.
Like, we can't get into, the town doesn't administratively have the ability to like help everybody put solar panels on their roof. So
That's why it's kind of maybe a good idea to use Sagamore like was originally planned. I really
I agree.
love hearing what you're saying because you are laying it out.
I think we just need to be able to say, this is the highest and best use of this property. There was another argument that said we should put it at the tannery. If
Would
there's
you
a way.
write an article about all of this?
Then they're like, well, she's on the select board, so she shouldn't really be saying all this, because she can't, she's speaking on behalf of the select board. This is what happens, like, people that become,
ghostwriter.
you become knowledgeable about something, and then they say you shouldn't talk about it
Sign
because,
it, Cynthia.
but I'm telling you guys, these are some of the things that have come up in the past. If you think it's important, take it on, and I'll,
Has this whole thing in Sagamore come up? I've heard
Oh,
people
yeah.
say it once.
No, he's talked about it several times over periodically.
I have spent a lot of time talking to people about it.
I
The
mean,
thing is, the energy committee had all these recommendations, the streetlights, for example. Some of what has happened is that there have been recommendations to do things, but an underappreciation of how much time it takes to actually implement it all. Dave was in charge of implementing this whole LED streetlight thing. And to the committee, it's like, great, success, we did it. Let's move on to, now you should do solar. Well, Dave's still like figuring out how to actually implement it all. And there are actually all these things happening in the background that, it's just figuring out the billing, figuring out this, who's the contact person, what's making them.
once the big idea is done, somebody has to take care of it.
Yeah.
Somebody got to implement it.
All the
Right?
details.
Yeah, that's the problem
And
That's the
so
hard part.
with everything.
with the solar thing, what was discovered, and there was
You need to say
frustration.
that.
No,
Well,
but
we are
it's
saying
with
it,
everything.
That with
It's-
the solar thing, it was frustrating to some. that
Everybody
it
has a
wasn't
great
as simple
idea,
as they
but-
thought. You know, it
Can't
was like,
make
well, the
everybody
town
happy.
actually isn't saving any money on
But
this
somebody has to actually
because we
take
didn't,
care of it.
you know,
once the
and
big
there was
idea has
frustration
been-
with revision because it was like, maybe they should have made sure, you know, that the town was actually benefiting. I do think that issue was
I think it might be
solved.
frozen.
They must have put together all kinds of
Oh, yeah,
stuff
there's
on
water.
Well,
Well,
they did,
it's a-
but, and
it's a
that's where,
big-
once you get
it's
done
a
with,
big
done with
pit.
level one, I could put you in touch with
Big
Bob
pit
Falciani,
that they
who helped
dug
sort out
out.
the billing
So
thing.
it's like,
Yeah. I'm not the most knowledgeable person about it. All I've
And
heard are
it's-
like the tangential,
it's not easy to walk
Things.
through.
but you'd be just the person to sort through it.
I actually think that this is something that could be a bridge to get us to the other stuff that we're waiting on.
I could probably.
I mean, let's not be too pessimistic. The stream app is gonna, Anyway, all right.
We can look at
No,
that,
the,
yeah.
I have to go.
that whole solar panel
Oh,
thing
yeah.
is really
Well,
important.
Now that I
think.
know what
What'd you
time it
say?
is.
No, I mean to understand.
Oh, yeah, to understand.
Did they change the topography up there when they put it in, or was it just put it in a gravel pit?
This isn't the right venue. There's too many questions.
I don't know any of the answers.
It's not on gravel pit. It's
Let's
on-
end the
it's on-
meeting. I'd be happy to tell you a little bit once we,
Committee.
Talk to,
but it was gravel. It
I
was
will-
a gravel pit. You can't get there without one.
Customers of Chip Lake where
And-
he has
and
storage.
some of them are
and
still
sometimes the
here,
problem,
so-
people walking up behind there. I mean,
No.
you're driving and hanging out,
Party.
but if you just drive.
I'm just not really comfortable saying that, but
I know,
you know.
but
one question, did the Conservation Commission before, were they really involved in that solar
no,
panel?
it was a very separate thing. Like we had an energy committee and we had a
Oh, it was the
conservation
Energy
commission.
Committee, that's
The
right.
problem is
Okay.
there really are kind of a lot of overlaps. We suffered from this committee thing where every time there's a new idea, we add a new committee and that becomes completely unmanageable for the town because then you have to have somebody being like, oh, actually, this committee's already working on it. And so there was an effort to try to consolidate a little bit. And really the Conservation Commission, it would be good if the Conservation Commission could take on some of those energy things because then sometimes you have this land use conflict where the Conservation Commission doesn't want something, you know what I mean? So,
no,
no.
but we're just trying to make sure we just take on what we can actually accomplish and not just try to do a little bit of.
And it's totally acceptable for you guys to say,
See
like,
what
you
sticks.
guys can totally say, this is not a priority. We have too many other things. I'm just letting you know that if it's something you wanted to take on, I think
But
it would
this
be.
seems like something a couple of us could work on,
Yeah,
like
Absolutely.
offline.
Right, and then
to
you
me,
just
it's
report
like-
back.
I think you should come back with an update next meeting.
The next meeting, you're right,
With
with
what's
the
going
cost
on.
versus
I would like
benefits,
to
the
know-
ROI, the.
Oh my God, apparently everybody's super interested. I'd love to, we could do a field trip.
I just would like to understand.
Oh, yeah.
From the beginning.
I could show you guys the hard way to get to Sagamore Farm and the easy way.
Know
Because it's
exactly.
like this enigma, you know, not everybody has all the pieces.
It doesn't have.
All right, I move if I could that we adjourn, but I can't because I'm a select board meeting.
Before we go,
Okay.
please send me sound bites for the annual report. If you can't, just whatever, as soon as
Guys,
possible.
Sam's had her hand raised for a while. Just, she's too polite. I'm not gonna be,
Oh.
I know it's hard to see it on the screen.
Oh, you gotta
Yeah, no,
go.
I didn't need, thank you, Samantha. I was just gonna say, just in general, like with a roadmap or with a list of priorities at the beginning of the year, generally comes the understanding that, you know, there's gonna have to be room for other priorities to make themselves known. And then we say, okay, well, this is a priority now, and so this other thing is gonna get pushed, and that
Yep.
feels like a very reasonable
Yep.
approach.
Yep, agree.
Oh, so I just got a response from Aaron Weston.
good.
Saying, hi, Allison, quickly looking at that link, it looks like we can download the data in KML format, which we should then be able to convert to a shapefile and upload to ArcGIS Online. Is this something you want us to do? And I want to be like, I don't have the authority to tell you yes, but this person over here does. So full transparency.
So I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
Second.
I can talk to you.
You guys are really wounded.
Ryan, when do you need sound bites by?
As soon as possible.